Welcome to the commission meeting of September 26, 2023. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's over here.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, over there, there's an accident. All right, Manager McGill, if you could call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Flynn,
Present.
Commissioner Grella,
Here.
Commissioner Ranny,
Here.
Commissioner Swager Wilson,
Present.
Commissioner Silverman.
Here. Manager, if you continue with the announcements and a summary of discussion session topics, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Prior to tonight's meeting, the commission met in executive session to receive legal advice from the solicitor on a variety of topics. The next regular commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 10th. That meeting will begin at 8 p.m. in this room. Here are the ways the public can participate. In person, you don't need to pre-register. Simply show up at the appropriate meeting time and sign the register at the back of the room if you wish to speak during the meeting, or remotely via the Zoom webinar format. Again, you don't need to pre-register. Simply click the link located on the meeting agenda on the municipal website. And if you wish to speak during the citizens' comments or during public hearings, simply use the raise hand feature on Zoom and you'll be notified when it is your turn to speak. Immediately preceding this meeting, the commission met in discussion session and received information and discussed the following items. They received information on the municipal slogan and branding project that's part of the comprehensive plan process. We received information on various green mower options and their associated considerations and costs. We also received information related to several change orders for the firing range project. And we also heard a presentation from Gateway Engineers on the first phase of projects to meet the requirements of the consent order gold line standard. The commission also provided information on the various advisory boards that they are liaisons to.
All right, thank you. Next, community highlights, Commissioner Vice President Swager Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Historical Society of Mount Lebanon will soon present its annual gala and auction. The auction opens September 29th and the party is Thursday, October 5th from 7 to 9. Event tickets are $50 per guest and include hot hors d'oeuvres, wine, and beer. Party goers will also have a chance to win prizes, but the society will sell a limit of 75 tickets, so act quickly. Anyone can participate in the auction online. If you visit the website lebohistory23.givesmart.com, you can bid and purchase tickets for today. Mount Lebanon Police Department is saying goodbye to 3 long tenured members, all of whom are starting their hard-earned retirements this month. Corporal Jeff Kite has retired after 23 years of service. Kite was the supervisor of the Community Outreach Unit and has educated Mount Lebanon students since 2018. He was also a field training officer, a member of the Special Response Team, and the manager of Mount Lebanon's Policy and Accreditation Team, where his work earned him the Officer of the Year title in 2022. He also is a past recipient of the Medal of Bravery and the Senator John Hines In the Line of Fire Award. Deputy Chief of Police Paul Petrus has retired after 21.9 years of service. Petrus was an active duty captain in the U.S. Army Special Forces, Green Berets, for 9.5 years, serving as detachment commander for a military free fall team, deploying to various countries throughout Central and South America. He is a graduate of the 278th class of the prestigious FBI National Academy. He was the department's Officer of the Year in 2013 and has served as a patrol officer, a detective specializing in sex crimes and juvenile matters, a bike patrol officer, honor guard member, a member of the Special Response Team, a firearms instructor, a member of the District Attorney's Narcotic Enforcement Team, a team commander for the SHACOG Critical Incident Response Team, and a long list of other honors and leadership positions. Lieutenant Joshua Chops retired with 20 years of service. He was Officer of the Year in 2017. worked in the Investigative Services Unit for 10 years, served as the department's range master since 2017, and was a sniper team leader for the Shaycog Critical Incident Response Team. He also was a field training officer and worked as an undercover narcotics officer. The commission, the municipal staff, and the residents of Mount Lebanon want to thank these highly trained officers for their decades of service and dedication to keeping us safe. May your retirements be long, fun with a capital F, and healthy. Mount Lebanon's Artist Market is this weekend from 10 to 5, Saturday and Sunday in the Academy Avenue parking lot. The Regional Arts Festival includes dozens of booths from the best artists in the region, food trucks, and family activities. Thanks to the Mount Lebanon Partnership for bringing such beauty and enjoyment to our town.
Thank you for that report. Next, introduction of our new Deputy Chief of Support Services. Chief, do you want to?
Thank you, Manager McGill. Thank you, the commission, and I appreciate the opportunity to welcome our new Deputy Chief of Police of Support Services. So Deputy Chief Shufi has had a long career in law enforcement, which started in March of 1994 as a patrolman with the Wilkinsburg Police Department. While there, he progressed through the ranks, where he then was promoted to the rank of sergeant and on to detective sergeant, where he ran a very busy investigative unit. From there, Deputy Chief Shufi progressed to the ranks of Wilkinsburg and retired in 2018, at which point he took a position with the Department of Corrections as a criminal investigator. During his tenure with the DOC, Deputy Chief Shufi was instrumental in working with other state law enforcement agencies to disrupt a number of major criminal enterprises and their attempts to further criminal activity within state prisons. During his career, he's been a part of many numerous arrests and successful subsequent convictions of individuals involved in violent crimes and significant narcotic trafficking. Deputy Chief Shufi has also responded to and been recognized for a number of critical incidents in his position, to include the following: Allegheny County Council Law Enforcement Award, the Amen Corner Award, the John Hines Memorial Award, DEA Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Field of Drug Enforcement, Wilkinsburg Unit Citation numerous times, and the Fraternal Order of Police Outstanding Service Award multiple times. I will tell you, Deputy Chief Shufi also obtained his undergraduate degree from Edinburgh University in criminal justice and went on to pursue his master's degree as his career went on and obtained an MS in legal studies from West Virginia University. Deputy Chief Shufi is a family man. He has a high level of integrity, and his values come from a long line of law enforcement in his family. His father served as a police officer with the city of Pittsburgh, and he followed in his footsteps. He currently resides in Plum with his wife and two daughters, his wife for 27 years, and I will tell you that he possesses a high degree of integrity and really puts family first. So we appreciate having him, and we're very lucky to have him, and I'd like to welcome him to the team.
Which one of us is photo bomb? Again, welcome to Mount Lebanon. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you. No problem. Next on the agenda, Junior Commissioner Sarah Hudak. Now, Sarah is not in the building, but I don't know if she is online. Yes, no, maybe.
I don't see her online.
All right, okay, no problem. We'll catch you next time. Next is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any resident to express an opinion on any topic pertaining to local government. The commission enjoys hearing from the public on various issues and learning about items to address in the future. If you have specific questions, we will try and answer them at the end of your comments. If we can't, we commit to getting you the answers as soon as possible. When I call your name, please come to the podium to address the commission. Please state your name and address for the record. In fairness, we ask each speaker to share their thoughts for 5 minutes. The community is as good as each person in this room and online. We work together to make this a community that we can all be proud of and hope that the dialogue remains respectful. We also appreciate the audience's efforts to refrain from any behavior that is disruptive or might intimidate free speech. First on the list, one of our retired firefighters, Joe Thoransky.
Good evening, everyone. Manager and Commission, good evening. My name is Joe Thoransky. Excuse me, this is my wife, Michelle Thoransky. We live at 1300 Lakemont Drive, where we have resided for 22 years, raised an awesome son, and have a beautiful home. During that time, I retired as a deputy chief from the Mount Lebanon Fire Department after 30 years of service to the community, and I don't regret it one bit. It's been a great time. So I am here tonight, though, on official business, unfortunately. And I would like to bring something to the attention of the commission, to the municipality, an issue that myself, I'll speak from ourselves and our neighbors have been dealing with now for the past couple of years. My neighbors at 1298 Lakemont Drive have a motorhome, a Class A motorhome. It kind of looks like the size of a Rolling Stone tour bus. It's about 50 feet long. And they have had it for a couple of years now, and they've had other camping equipment that they've parked out on the street for the past few years. And as good neighbors, we have all tolerated it, and we have put up with it, and we've had conversations about it. However, over the past year, the situation has gotten more dire. They bring this vehicle home, and it is huge. Parking on Lakemont Drive in front of their house. It takes up one lane of traffic. At night, you cannot see it. It's pitch black. It does form an obstruction, we feel, at the intersection of Raleigh and Lakemont for when you're coming up the hill to be able to see traffic. It also imposes a little bit more of a risk we don't have sidewalks on Lakemont. So as you come down Lakemont Drive, it's easy to go around a 14-foot vehicle with a stroller. But when you're coming down Lakemont Drive and you have to go around 50 foot of a vehicle and not into someone's yard, it creates a little bit more hazard. That was from my neighbors, a couple of them will be emailing our commissioner following this meeting so that know that I speak for them as well. I have tried talking to the neighbors about it on several occasions. I have been through every level of the municipality to try to correct it in a civil matter and look into it. The overnight parking, and we have a recommendation that the commission look at the overnight parking for such types of recreational vehicles, and or increasing the fine when you go over the 20 nights, and or look at our abutting townships ordinances on recreational vehicle parking, not on the property, on the street. Bethel Park and Upper St. Clair are pretty much so, no parking all the time, but they do have ordinances there about recreational vehicles. The owner of this vehicle have kept the diesel motor running for more than 24 hours, or the generator running to keep the refrigerator cold. If they were just going to bring it home, pack up their stuff and go, I think everyone in the neighborhood would be fine with it. But it sits there day after day after day, for no one touching it, no one using it. But sometimes with the motor running.
Thank you.
From time to time, they have family members that come in and camp out in the vehicle that's parked on the street with the motor or generator running. It creates a nuisance. They are unapproachable about it now. And just my neighbors across the street, who are both older, have a very difficult time backing out of their driveway to circumnavigate this vehicle that's out there. And I have pictures if you ever need to see them. Finally, where's that going? So we do check with the police department to make sure the vehicle has been on the overnight list. I believe they do check most of the times. Sometimes this neighbor might cheat the system and not call it in, because our police can't be on every road every single night checking it. I'm not asking them to do that, but I am asking the commission to take a look at this. We just recently put our home up for sale. Unfortunately, we're going to leave Mount Lebanon now that I'm retired and go explore different avenues. I'm not doing this for us. We are leaving. I'm doing this for my neighbors in my neighborhood that I've always served for. I'm doing this for the new homeowners so they don't have to deal with it, because it creates a lot of undue stress on you to look outside and see something that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So we're doing this for everybody and everybody in Mount Lebanon, because they could have this thing parked on Duquesne Drive, a smaller street, Marion, Meridian, Chalmers, anywhere in Mount Lebanon, someone could do this according to the policy right now, and it would be okay. So I would like to have it looked into and checked. The vehicle left tonight. This would have been last night was his 20th night, according to my neighbor across the street that keeps track of it. So, we had an open house on Sunday. I talked to him real quick, earlier in the week, to not bring it there on Saturday or Sunday. He was cool with it. We had 20 people come through the open house. We did not receive one bid. He put it there at 1:30 in the afternoon and it stayed there till today. And we were trying to sell our house. We didn't get a zero bid from 30 people, 20 people that came through our house. We got a bid from a buyer that came 10 o'clock in the morning before the RV was there. I'll never be able to prove it, but good neighbors are good neighbors and bad neighbors are bad neighbors. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. We're sorry to lose you from Mount Lebanon. We appreciate your service.
It's been
to
a
Mount
pleasure
Lebanon.
working with all of you.
Yeah, it's great.
Calling it in and it's an issue. We want to make sure it's being enforced properly.
It's easy to do. And I'll also have a conversation with the solicitor and related to amendments to the ordinance and what we can do and where we may have some challenges.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Next on the list, Colonel Hume.
So you'll know.
Bill Hoon, 456 Coolidge Avenue. My high school class had a reunion 2.5 weeks ago. And we had a pretty good time, a lot of catching up to do. There were about 104 of us that showed up for this. Slightly more than that have died since our class graduated. There are only 2 of us that I'm aware of that still live in Mount Lebanon. So other members of the class had a lot of questions for me. I don't know about the other fellow. But I was quite frank with them. I told them that Mount Lebanon of today doesn't hold a candle to the township that we grew up in. We had a lot of fun. It was a good place to live. We didn't have issues like this constant speeding that we've got now. There might have been some, who knows, but we certainly didn't notice. Ran into a former Mount Lebanon employee who stated that now that that individual is no longer in service here, he could express his opinion on what's been going on. And specifically, he got into the deer program. He said that it's pointless and sad what's been going on here. You know, that's not the only issue. We can't help but wonder, it seems to be geared for certain people in the township. And we can't help but wonder how many other special little projects are worked the same way for certain people. Rather disturbing. And the whole works has gotten us one heck of a reputation, you know, with, well, Lyme's disease, which has never been carried by deer and is easily looked up, endless growth of a population, which doesn't occur with any animal population. You can look that up too. But we did aerial counts to verify this growth. And we did so when we weren't harassing the deer and killing them. And we found that our first year count, 200 head. And then 2 years later, another count, no, it was 225 the first year, 200 the second year, which didn't really fit in with the commission's story. So they dropped that, buried it immediately. Next issue, I was going across Bar Hill Road this afternoon, about 5 streets down from Washington Road. An individual was coming down from the Washington Road direction. And initially, when I started to cross, I had plenty of room, but he speeded up. Find that interesting. And it reminded me of those 2 young girls that were trying to get across Washington Road over here at Rawlers. And the bigger one made it across, and the shorter one luckily popped back up on the sidewalk. Well, I noticed the back end of that vehicle, and that individual didn't even tap the brakes, folks. You know, we're gonna get somebody killed in this township, and that's the real problem. It never has been deer. But boy, traffic has become ridiculous, and we're making no effort. You know, if it happens, it happens. Yeah, well, okay. Some young kid. Just one other thing that I told the folks at our reunion that if I knew where we'd be today, I wouldn't have moved back here. That touched everyone I talked to.
Thank you for your comments,
Thank
Colonel
you.
Hunt. Next on the agenda is Sally Lamont.
Sally Lamont, 205 Mohawk Drive. My husband and I have previously sent you all emails about the DeSiga development. We imagine the subdivision and land development ordinance was carefully crafted and put in place for a reason. This development requires SOLDA waivers. To us, that is a clear and strong indication that the development is not appropriate for this particular parcel. What is the point of the ordinance if waivers are granted? Please do not allow this development to proceed.
Thank you for your comments. Next, I'll do my best with the handwriting here. Metzger. Living on Whitney Avenue.
Yeah.
Taking ahead, no. All right. Chris Peters.
So signed in as one comment.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you. All right. Next. Brack is the last name. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the handwriting here. Maja Stefanuk, Brack. 59 Moffett Street. Is there a resident who lives at 59 Moffett Street who signed up to speak? Oh, no worries. All right, next, Judy, Delis Tinte? Sorry. Well, this is the time, this is citizens' comments. This is the time to speak. So, all right,
There's no public hearings on the agenda.
yeah, there's no
today.
public hearing. This is the
This
time
is
to
the
speak.
public, yeah, this is the only public comment time. So if you want to give public comment, we allow, I mean, we set aside this time in our meeting for public comments.
Wait, it's not, it's not, sorry, Brian, it's not your turn. I was gonna go to the next person. You're on the list here. So I catch you, but. Well, I feel like in the interest of people who signed up, at least let me go through the list. but you're on it, so we'll make sure we get you. Okay, Shaw is the last name on Ruth Street.
Vignesh Shah, residing at 911 Root Street. And I'm here to support the Friends of 50 Moffett, Save 50 Moffett Street. I believe a lot of us here are for the same reason, and I would urge you to take Mr. Neff's suggestion. Anyway, so I've lived in the neighborhood for a long time, and the development that was blocked by interested parties. I think that was a good thing. I've lived on Moffett Street for 8 years before I've lived on Route for 11. And it would be a shame to see that kind of development happen on Moffett Street. So it was a good thing. Now the next step is really we want to protest. We want to get the ordinance changed, the zoning changed, and we're here to support that.
Thank you. Next, Kent Warbrook.
Kent Warbrook at 55 Moffett Street. And I was here to speak on the same issue that Mr. Neff is about to bring up on the rezoning of the 50 Moffett Street location. I was hoping that he'd speak beforehand, but I'd just like to reiterate the comments of my neighbor, Mr. Shaw, who just spoke a minute ago. I live at 55 Moffett Street, which is the closest piece of property to this proposed development that was thankfully voted down last month, but we are all here to support the rezoning back to where it was before. So I hope you listen to all the speakers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Kim Morrow. Kim Morrow, sorry.
Hi, 308 Twin Hills Drive. Here for the same thing. I think a lot of us showed up here this evening out of concern and frustration. I think this has been obviously an ongoing issue since 2021. A number of us in this community and in this specific area of Jefferson, and I'm in Lincoln, but my kids are going to be going to Jefferson Middle School. So my biggest concern is obviously the traffic. My concern is my kids walking to school. We're a walking district. And I have lots of friends in this community that live right around Moffett and Pin Oak. And I see the amount of traffic that we're dealing with in that area in the first place. That's number one. Adding an additional whatever number of units was proposed. The fact that there was not transparency with the traffic study, the individuals that completed the traffic study and claimed when we went to the prior meeting for the planning meeting that there was no traffic issue. There was no traffic issue when they went to the schools. I just think that's not being transparent with the Jefferson community because there is a traffic issue there already. There's multiple accidents that occur. If you look at the drop off at school, I've spoken to my friends that are at the elementary building and the middle school building. There is traffic all the way down Pin Oak to the very bottom. On a 2-hour delay, it's even worse. So I think number one, however this all shakes out, whether the zoning is changed, I think there needs to be a total traffic study completed because I actually think there needs to be things in place to improve the traffic in that area because that's not going away. Adding an additional 85 to 95 cars would have been catastrophic. I think the second thing about the Moffett Street group and the community as a whole in this area wants to feel heard. They need to feel heard. This is where they live. So put yourself in their shoes. Would you want to step out of your house with 9, 10, 11, 12 UPS trucks, Amazon trucks, an additional 85, 90 cars right outside of where you live with an already congested area? And I think there was not transparency in that, in those conversations when this went to the planning meeting. As you guys received a letter from one of the individuals in the Moffett Street group that laid out kind of the timeline for things that occurred. There were things that were not transparent in that process. And I think that is why this group was frustrated with how things went down. So hopefully that's resurrected with the decisions that you decide to make. Hopefully we don't decide to not address it and table it and let it be and let it sit and let it fester. So another developer can come in and do the same exact thing and we can deal with the same exact problems again. And then is that going to be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year holdup of a piece of property that could be developed appropriately with the correct zoning? I mean, we are we are landlocked, we are dense. I think adding an additional 42, multi-building complex there is just a bad look. And so are we going to have the same issue with another developer coming in and trying to do the same thing? Then we're back to square one. So we're here to stay as a Moffett group. I think that's not going to go away. So hopefully we can work in collaboration to make those changes. So we see definitely a growth and a possible development of the building, but appropriate for where it is in the community. I don't know if any of you have kids that go to Jefferson or you have young children that are in an elementary area. My kids are going to be walking from Twin Hills Drive. So my son's going to have almost a 1.7 mile walk in the morning. He's not going to be driven to school. I leave for work and my husband does at 6 a.m. We're gone. So he has to walk that distance. I need to know that he's safe. I want to have safe sidewalks. I want him to be able to walk to school safely. And I think, again, adding all that additional congestion is not safe for a walking district in general. So hopefully we consider all of those things and we kind of resurrect the issues that we had the past 2 years with this problem and we make it right. Because I think you have an opportunity to do that. And I think we're hopeful that you will, and that this will not be tabled and not discussed when you have 25, 30 people from this community right now in the Jefferson area that want to have answers. Thank you.
Your comment? I gave the introductory remarks. It's nice to have the applause for the firefighter, but we'll leave it at that. Tyler Love, you're next on the list.
Hello, everybody. Tyler Love, 361 Old Gilkison. I can't really follow that one. I wish we had the representation on Old Gilkison that the Moffett project has. I mean, I'm not going to say anything more than what I said to all of you at the commission and individually. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to our comments regarding the development that is going in next to us. And our major issue was safety and density in an area that doesn't need density. There's no reason to have this development there. I mean, you can have it. I was never anti-development, just the way it was done. We've all disagreed with, everybody on our street has disagreed with. If it could have been changed to 8 units rather than 10, everybody would have been happy. I don't think it would have been that big of an issue. The spacing would have been fine. Everybody would have been happy. I just want to, again, I want to thank every one of you individually for taking the time to hear our comments. It means a lot. We moved to this community for a reason. And, you know, it goes without saying, it's one of the best in the city. And that's why we're here. So I appreciate you guys doing your jobs, hearing us, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts. Next on the list, Peter Sharon?
Hi, Commissioners. Peter Schnor. I'm an attorney representing Friends of 50 Moffett Street, the unincorporated association of concerned residents of Mount Lebanon. First, I appreciate the proposed ordinances that I submitted via letter dated September 15 are not on the agenda tonight. And they're similar to ones that I submitted about 18 months ago to the commission. And I acknowledge that you may already have a general plan in place for the time when you will visit or revisit the municipality's zoning ordinances that are relevant to the future of 50 Moffett Street. That said, the residents of the community in which 50 Moffett Street is located face a zoning concern right now. And it's as a result of the commission's passage of Bill 821 back on October 12, 2021, that changed the text of the zoning ordinance to allow for multiple primary structures, townhouses in the R3 zoning district. This 2021 zoning, text amendment creates a particularly concerning opportunity for there to be dense development of this particular lot, as it's one of the largest R3 lots in Mount Lebanon. That 2021 amendment to the text of the zoning ordinance did not take long to go from its first consideration by the planning board to passage by this body. And the mischief that the passage of Bill 821 causes in this community and other communities that are near or in R3 zoning districts in Mount Lebanon can be addressed by the municipality just as quickly and as easily as the passage of that bill through passage of an ordinance that simply undoes that change. And incidentally, we did provide the owner of the lot, UPMC, with copies of my letter and the ordinances. Changing it now, before another developer comes along with a proposal akin to the Kraft proposal, would avoid the costs and expenses that this residential community has had to bear to protect itself from that proposal, and the costs and expenses that the municipality will face to defend its decisions in any challenge to an approval or denial of such a proposed development on the site, and perhaps with respect to other dense developments in R3 in other communities like Old Gilkison. In conclusion, on behalf of Friends of 50 Moffett Street, I implore you to formally consider changing the text of the R3 zoning district back to what it was before passage of Bill 821 at an upcoming meeting. Doing so would offer an easy way, doing so would be an easy way to offer some protection of communities in and around R3 zoning districts until such time as the commission takes up a more holistic view of the zoning ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts. Next, Brian, you're up.
Thank you, members of the commission. Brian Neff from 1163 Furwood Drive. First of all, can I ask everybody who's here tonight that would be adverse?
Could you please address the commission? Can you address the commission, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to address the commission, but first, would everybody that's here on behalf of who would have been adversely affected by the Kraft development, would you please stand? Thank you. You've heard a lot about this Kraft development that was going to take place, which is now not going to take place. And there are many problems with how this development came to be, but I want to focus on one in particular. 2017, this commission decided that townhomes could be part of an R3 development, but they put no types of restrictions on the R3 development, such as there were in R4, R5, R6, or R7 on bulk and density that allowed those to be managed in any particular way. R3 is designated as low density. We have no similar conditions on R3 that we have on these higher density locations in terms of what types of developments could be put on. Fast forward to 2021, when Ordinance 821 passes and allows for multiple buildings only in R3, nowhere else. And it created the monster that Kraft Development wanted to put up, 42 townhomes in 3 acres. Had that multiple building part in all R3 not been part of the zoning code here, they would have been limited probably in number to maybe about 20 at best that they could have put in on this property, because it would require one building and one building only on this property. You now have the perverse effect that you can put more density in an R3 district than you can in R4, R5, R6, and R7, which are designated for higher density than R3. And that's a significant problem. So when Mr. Schnor says to you, you can rescind Ordinance 821, then all of a sudden you're eliminating the problem and putting it back at least to the status quo that it would have been. And then as part of your comprehensive plan, which I assume you're going through now, you can talk about the zoning that should be appropriate for an R3, which has never been discussed with regard to townhomes in R3. And I implore this commission to make those changes immediately so that we don't deal with another situation like Kraft Development was. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your comment. Next on the list, Chuck Blumenshine. Sorry, Chuck.
Chuck Blumenshine, 905 Root Street. I submitted a letter to the commission by email on September 18th. I'm gonna give you hard copies for everybody to look at while we here. I'm requesting that my letter be part of the meeting minutes as part of a public document. If that's not possible, I will read my letter into the record.
If you could read your letter into the record, please.
You sure?
Yes. Last under 5 minutes.
Well, I'll make it short. First off, I'm in favor of the petitions to rescind the 821 ordinance. And I write to provide the public with a timeline of certain events leading up to the commission's passage of the ordinance Bill 2821 on October 12th, 21. That allows for multiple primary structures to be constructed on a lot in the R3 zoning district. Most of this timeline is comprised of verbatim statements from the meeting minutes of Mount Lebanon's Planning Board and Commissioners. I provide this summary because it strongly suggests that the zoning ordinance change was made to support one developer who wished to burden the 50 Moffitt Street property with multiple principal structures, and who apparently had sufficient confidence that the zoning ordinance change would pass before the vote was held to approve it. Planning Board meeting minutes, July 20th. Mr. McMeans entered an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and he stated that the zoning ordinance change came up because in the last year, there have been 4 different development projects submitted to the municipal staff where there were sites that had deeper properties such as Baptist homes that were limited in street frontage. There's a clause in the ordinance that requires all properties to have frontage on a public street. Mr. George of the Planning Board said he would prefer to keep the ordinance as is so that a request for variance would be needed and abutting property owners would be notified. Planning Board meeting August 17th, 21. Mr. McMeans described the impact of potential ordinance changes and said approximately 6.4% of the current R3 zone properties will be impacted by the ordinance change. The motion carried 4-1. Mr. George indicated he's concerned changing the ordinance would change the character of the current R3 developments and voted against the motion. Mount Lebanon Commission meeting, September 14th. This is the meeting where they introduced the ordinance, Bill 821. Then the next meeting, September 28th, was a public hearing on the ordinance, Bill 821, to allow for multiple primary structures in the R3 zoning district. Mr. Gorella thought there should be a more holistic approach to this and that all properties should be reviewed to determine if they are properly zoned. He said the current ordinance seems more of a reaction to a developer's request. He also suggested that residents review the Planning Board meetings and minutes, stating there was not a unanimous consensus on this issue from the members. Mount Lebanon Commission, October 12th. The bill was introduced and a public hearing was held on September 28th. Mr. Silverman moved and Mr. Flynn seconded to enact the ordinance. The vote was called. Mr. Flynn, Mrs. Foster, Ms. Rainey, and Mr. Silverman voted in favor of the motion. Mr. Gorella voted against the motion. The motion passed 4-1. Interestingly, Kraft, in the meantime, while this was going on, within a week of Mount Lebanon passing the ordinance, Kraft submits his preliminary land development plan for 50 Moffitt Street. The Kraft documents include detailed engineering drawings by PVE Engineering, post-construction stormwater management plan dated September 17th, geotechnical explanation report dated April 30th, 21. Given the history, the public should consider why would Kraft put hand money down on a property, undertake detailed engineering work at a considerable cost if they did not have some advanced assurances from Mount Lebanon that 821 would be approved. I would like to thank Mr. George and Mr. Grella for not bending to the pressure of the Mount Lebanon officials who are keen on promoting this development at the risk of the community in Mount Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Cynthia Bogner. Cynthia, you here?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cynthia Bogner, and I live at 742 in Oak Road. My home is in close proximity to 50 Moffett Street. I've grown up in Mount Lebanon. I've spoken before you before. I want to say that number one, I thank the group as well as Brian and Peter and Chuck for articulating many issues regarding this proposed craft development. My comments are very brief. I strongly urge the commission to change the zoning to what it was before they passed Bill 821. This change would allow development that is compatible with the character of our neighborhood. This is a neighborhood we all love. We have lived in cases for decades. We love our green spaces, the lovely trees, and our beautiful homes. That's why we're there. Based on that, we want to protect it. That doesn't mean we're anti-development, but we're trying to protect what we love. Therefore, I implore you all to please rescind Ordinance 821 as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. On the list, Denise Fentura.
Good evening. Denise Ventura, 949 Old Hickory Road. Our house is maybe a few hundred yards away from 50 Moffett Street. My husband Bob and I moved there 38 years ago. We love it here. The reason we moved because our oldest daughter was 4 and we wanted to be able to have her start kindergarten in the Mount Lebanon School District. I'm sure you've heard this a million times from other families, and people continue to move here. If you look at the prices of the homes in the $300,000 to $500,000 range, people are still moving here for the school district. We moved in that particular neighborhood because our girls could walk safely to school, not only in grade school, but also then in middle school. So that's just a reason for us, and I'm sure for many other residents. My understanding, I've come sort of new to this, the 50 Moffett Street group, but I understand that that was originally zoned R2, just like our own lots are, and the rest of that little area. But the zoning was changed in order to accommodate the family hospice for UPMC, which is great. It was a wonderful facility. My question, and I don't know if this is appropriate to ask you, but I have this question. Why was that not immediately changed back to R2 when UPMC withdrew that use of that property? It seems to me that that would just would have been the thing to do. I also wondered why Mr. Schnor's petitions for zoning changes weren't on tonight's agenda. I don't know, again, how that works, but I don't know if that's something you all can explain or that's not what you do here. But that's questions that that I always have. And the other thing about if we have more restrictions on the more densely populated buildings or 4, 5, 6, 7, then we put on the R3. You know, I'm not a road scholar, but that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So those are things I really do ask you to consider. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your thoughts. Well, that's all that's on the list. However, we have the online portion of this meeting. So the question is, I assume we have some folks online who would like to speak?
Nobody has their hand raised.
All righty, okay. Bill, you have some thoughts?
Those questions, at least the last commenter had, or any
I think
thoughts?
the solicitor has some comments he is going to make.
No, like I said, I wrote an email to Mr. Schnor saying that what our plan was. He obviously understands it. That is, when the comprehensive plan is done, we'll look at this zoning issue, all these zoning issues, as well as others, at one time. When I say others, I mean, there's other zoning issues besides just this one that other residents have brought to our attention.
So you're saying, once the comprehensive plan is done, then commission turns the page to look at this sort of issue? And look at it in total.
And other issues too.
So look at it in total.
Can
All right.
Can you articulate the anticipated timeline for the comp plan?
Well, the comp plan, excuse me. The comp plan, all right, Will, do you want to speak louder?
Say it all again.
Sure.
Yeah, when the comp plan is done, that is when we intend to look at the zoning issues that this group has raised, as well as zoning issues other residents who are not here tonight and have raised over the last few years or so. We were going to look at all zoning issues once comprehensive plan is done, which is one of the requirements of law, which is zoning changes must be consistent with the comprehensive plan.
And for a timetable, as Commissioner Flynn had mentioned, the comprehensive plan is a 45-day comment period. And so that 45-day comment period should start roughly mid-October, because sorry, but I can see the ears. Can you hear me better now? The comment period should start roughly mid-October, because the comprehensive plan comes to commission first meeting in December for a vote. So that's the timetable for comprehensive plan finishing, which then pivots to the next part of what our solicitor was saying about then reviewing these various things relating to zoning. So hopefully that answers the questions. That's where we are with this. With that, we will close citizens' comments and turn to item 5 of the agenda. Commissioner Grella, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of the minutes from the regular meeting held September 12, 2023. I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 5, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of final approval for the Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan at 397 Old Gilkixon Road. At its meeting on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023, the planning board voted in favor of a motion to recommend final approval for the Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan. The developer presented this project to the commission at the August 22nd, 2023 meeting. DeSega LLC has submitted the Black Oak Hill plan to construct 10 single-family attached homes on approximately 2.7 acres located at 397 Old Gilkixon Road in the R3 zoning district. Single-family attached dwellings are a use by right in the R3 zoning district. The developer has requested the following modifications to the Mount Lebanon Code, Chapter 16, Subdivision and Land Development, Saldo. A modification to Section 805.9 related to sidewalks. The developer is requesting to not install sidewalks on the Old Gilkixon Road side of the property due to the slope topography and the location of the property boundaries in relation to this right of way. Sidewalks will be provided on the Gilkixon Road side of the property. Also, modification to Section 707 to provide the required shade trees within the lot frontage. Old Gilkixon Road, in lieu of planting the trees within the right-of-way due to limited space between the right-of-way line and the cartway. The shade trees planted on private property will be maintained by the property owners. I move to 1, grant the requested modifications to Section 805.9 and Section 707. 2, grant the final approval of Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan conditioned on the execution and approval of the required development agreement, conditioned upon the following items. Receipt of necessary permits from outside agencies, including but not limited to PennDOT and NPDES permits. Following PennDOT approval, the developer discussing with PennDOT amendments to the location of the eastern turn-in curb cut. Solicitor approving the HOA documents, execution of the required development agreement and stormwater maintenance agreement, receipt of the required financial securities within 60 days.
Second. The motion has been moved and seconded. Bill, do you want to have some comments?
With any land development approval, I mean, I think in light of a lot of the comments, it's important to state the legal standard for review of a land development, and that is if the land development meets the terms of our subdivision and land development ordinance, it must be approved. There isn't any real flexibility for other items other than what's in our ordinances, because if we do not approve it as submitted, we are required to list the section of our ordinance that is violated and explain why it is. So again, the review isn't as plenary as you might think. It is really a comparison of the plan to our ordinance.
In the case, just as a response there, in the case where the developer's asking for a waiver, does the waiver in and of itself not signal that it doesn't fit the ordinance?
Waivers are specifically authorized by state law, so they're very clearly contemplated by state law, and those state law provisions are in our ordinance. It's a recognition that in some cases, literal compliance is unreasonable. It can be due to a variety of reasons, but again, in Western Pennsylvania, one that comes up often is topography.
Since we last considered this, there's been amendment to this about trying to address or at least discuss with PennDOT the concern that the nearby resident had about where that driveway is. And I'm glad that change was made. So that's my comment on the proposal here. Anybody else have any other comments on this?
Just that. I'd have to go back and check the record, but I think every project that has come before this commission where SALDA waivers have been involved, I believe I voted no on all of them. We have certain powers to control development here. SALDA is one of them, the zoning code is another. So it's my opinion that we should turn these down literally 100% of the time. Because the waiver in and of itself, as I just mentioned before, notwithstanding anything Phil said related to state law, but these are under our purview, one, and two, we have to consider them for each development that comes in front of us, not just something we may have done on previous projects where the similar or same waiver was requested because projects are different. So I think it's important that we review these on an individual basis. So that's my comment for this one.
Any other commissioners have a comment? All right, hearing no more comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 4-1. Item 7, Commissioner Flynn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration for the execution of a development agreement and stormwater operations and maintenance agreement with Dicega LLC. At tonight's meeting, the Mount Lebanon Commission granted final approval for the Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan. One of the requirements for the final approval is the development agreement that addresses such issues as posting of amenities, bond, or letter of credit for the required public and private improvements, submission of a cash deposit, and any other provisions or conditions that may be required by the municipality. Additionally, the engineer and solicitor have recommended the municipality enter into a stormwater operations and maintenance agreement to ensure the private stormwater infrastructure on site will be owned and maintained by the private property owners. Mr. President, I move to authorize the proper municipal officials to execute the following documents along with any revisions approved by the manager and solicitor. First, the development agreement between Mount Lebanon Municipality and Dicega LLC for the Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan, conditioned upon receipt of the required financial securities within 60 days of approval. Second, stormwater operations and maintenance agreement with Dicega LLC for their private stormwater management facilities as part of the Black Oak Hill Land Development Plan.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 8, Commissioner Swager Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration to purchase a greens mower for the golf course. This mower will replace the existing 2018 greens mower. The existing greens mower will be converted to a T mower. The current T mower is a 2013 converted greens mower. There are 3 replacement options as follows, and they're up on the screen to your left. right? Yes.
Our right, their left, yes.
Yeah, our right, their left, exactly. I move to authorize the purchase of a Toro E-Triflex 3370 electric mower from E.H. Griffith, Inc., utilizing piggyback purchasing state contract number 4400020108 at a total cost of $75,066.13.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 9, Commissioner Grella, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of award of a contract for the 2023 through 2026 sidewalk snow and ice removal service. Requests for bids for the contractual removal of snow and ice from municipal steps and sidewalks were sent to 6 local contractors, posted on the municipal website and advertised in the Post Gazette. The agreement will provide a base year with 2 renewal periods. One bid was received from Little's Landscaping LLC. The proposed cost per response for the 2023-24 season was $1,185,000 with a minimum guaranteed number of 35 responses for a total of $41,500. This cost includes the addition of sidewalks at the Municipal Tennis Center. The proposal also includes a cost of $42,000 for the 2024-25 season and $43,500 for the 25-26 season renewal periods. Little's Landscapes LLC provided this service during the 2022-2023 season in a satisfactory manner, and there is sufficient funding remaining in the 2023 budgeted snow and ice contractual account. I move to award the 2023-2024 contractual sidewalk snow and ice removal service to Little Landscaping LLC in the amount of $41,500 with 2 optional renewal periods.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 10, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration to award a change order to the firing range penthouse contract ductwork. Controlled Climate Systems Incorporated is currently under contract for installation of mechanical systems for the firing range penthouse, and they have provided a proposal for repairs to do ductwork damaged by the penthouse ceiling collapse in the amount of $76,101.85. The proposal has been reviewed by the project architect and mechanical engineer who recommended its approval. I move to approve the change order to the firing range penthouse mechanical contract in the amount of $76,101.85 to Controlled Climate Systems, Inc.
Second. The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Did
you say?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I guess, gonna see, as I said in the discussion session, this item and the next 2 are designed to get the range functional. We are pursuing to get reimbursed from these costs. The cost allocation between the parties has not been settled. We're pursuing that.
Thank you.
I had supported this project up until the time it started to go over budget, which was very early on. I started voting no on a lot of the change orders and additional changes. But I am going to vote yes this time because I do believe it is in the best interest for us to get this project done, in the best interest of the municipality. So that is my plan on this one. Normally I would vote no on budget overruns, but I can't on this one.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 11, Commissioner Flynn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration to award a change order for the firing range penthouse contract mechanical. Controlled Climate Systems, Inc. is currently under contract for installation of mechanical systems for the firing range penthouse. And they have provided a proposal for additions and modifications to the mechanical systems as specified by the project architect and project mechanical engineer in the amount of $36,995.31. The proposal has been reviewed by the project architect and mechanical engineer who recommended its approval. Mr. President, I move to approve the change order to the firing range penthouse mechanical contract in the amount of $36,995.31 to Controlled Climate Systems, Inc.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 12, Commissioner Swager Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration to award a change order to the firing range penthouse contract ceiling. TBI Contracting is currently under contract for general construction for the firing range penthouse, and they have provided a proposal for replacement of the penthouse ceiling which collapsed in the amount of $97,604. The proposal has been reviewed by the municipal solicitor who recommends its approval. I move to approve the change order to the firing range penthouse general contract in the amount of $97,604 to TBI Contracting.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 13, Commissioner Grella, please.
Mr. President, consideration of the expenditure list for August totaling $8,130,722.66. I move to approve the expenditure list for August totaling $8,130,722.66.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 14, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the reports be received and filed.
And they shall be, and we are adjourned.
Wow, it's real and that's.